Yeah.
when it's time for you to go to the campus, you must be wearing your complete uniform. That means your scrubs. Undershirts must be white, only white for us. Only vet is allowed to wear black and navy blue, okay? Because they deal with animals, so they get dirty so fast. But with us, it's white. Our shoes must be white, predominantly white. There can be a stripe or a swish, but it has to be predominantly white. Before, it's plain white. Socks must be white, and of course, hygiene is important. Okay, so on Monday, you switched your scrubs already?
No, I'm actually going to the campus today to get my top.
Oh, okay. You can do a curbside pickup too, because sometimes they do. Yeah, sometimes they do a curbside pickup when I have my son, because I don't want him to have to go through you have to go garb and then do this and stuff. You can always ask for a curbside pickup when you email Becca. Okay, attendance. I've mentioned this already. Attendance matters. Some students fail or get a B instead of an A because of attendance. It's part of our grading scale. So if you're expected to be in the live class, then you have to be in the live class. If you're expected to log in and do homeworks and worksheet, that is your attendance too. So every day I check movement in Blackboard. And every day I check Monday, Wednesday, Friday, when we go live, I check attendance too. Okay, like what I said, if you showed up for the presentation but you didn't have a PowerPoint, that's only 50%. If you submitted your PowerPoint but didn't show up for a presentation, that's only 50. It has to be both. Okay, and then homework, if you check your syllabus, the homework weighs heavily right now, okay, versus the final exam. In the old days, before the new normal, the final exam is about 35% and homework is about 20%. Now it's flipped, okay? Yeah. The quizzes and the homework weigh heavily because we know that students put more time and effort in the homework and in quizzes more than the final exam, because the final exam now is easier to take versus when it was in the classroom, when it was paper and pencil, okay? Netiquette, it's so funny. I'm always a trendsetter for instructors when it comes to anything. It's funny. Why? During the first month of this COVID, we're doing it online, I had to terminate a student.
Oh, no. Oh, dear.
Real fast, okay? I don't like terminating students. I've been with PIMA 10 years, but there's only 3 students that were terminated in that 10 years time. And these are all because of poor attitude, okay, and lack of professionalism. The student has been disruptive in my class almost every time we do live. In the past, our live was every day, okay? Very disruptive in the chat box. I couldn't move on with my lecture, okay? Couldn't move on with my lecture, or always interrupting me. Sometimes the topic is not related, okay? And then it came to a point wherein he went to the campus and created a scene in the campus, pounding on our campus director's window and pounding on the assistant campus director's window and screeching his tire all the way to the front door. So there were threats in there, and then showed up to my class and showed a picture of a clown while I was conducting the class. So I asked, why are you showing a picture of a clown? And I said, are you saying that I'm a clown? Or are you saying you're a clown? And he said, oh, this is a circus, he said, okay? But it was during the first month of COVID when, I'm just telling you the gist, that we don't just terminate people right away. It adds up, it adds up. And I document those things. So because I document, it's so easy for me to put my case together. And that's one thing that PIMA will not tolerate, okay? And I told him, get out of my classroom, even online, because I treat it as my classroom. I said, if you're gonna be disrespectful to your classmates, which you have been for the last couple of days, and I'm just holding it, and now you're disrespectful to me, get out of my class. And he said, you can't do that to me because I'm paying. I said, I could, because in the handbook and in the orientation, you signed that, okay? And I'm not gonna tolerate you continuously disrespecting my class and being a distraction to my class because they're also paying. So that's what happened. And then we processed everything and we really had to terminate him because he was overboard. So, and that was the beginning of, it's so funny because that was the beginning of COVID, and everybody's being understanding and trying to understand what's going on. We can't release the books yet. Nobody could go to the campus, and he wanted his physical books, all that thing. So just so you know, Pima is a good school, and we understand and we support our students very well, but there are things that we do not tolerate, okay? And I do not tolerate that. That's why in my orientation, I mentioned this, netiquette, okay? I always say, oh my gosh, I said jokes, but I always say, excuse my French, excuse my language, and I don't say it, okay? Because I also have a little one, so I would be filling up that jar real fast. But even if we're online, we are expected to still be professional, and I will never ever tolerate a student who disrespects my other student. And the other two students who got terminated too were disrespectful to my other students. So I will not tolerate that. Not only to me, but if you are disrespectful to your classmates, that's even a graver or bigger ground for me to work on your termination, okay? Requirements. I'd like you to know that you have certain requirements. Right now it's online, and then in-campus skills later on. You have to do IV certification, which is 20 hours of hands-on IV. Ms. J is going to walk you through that. We're the only school that does IV certification. So as you finish the program, before you even finish, you're already an IV tech. So that's really cool, right? Okay, so you're going to do IV, you're going to do skills in the campus depending on the class. Not all classes has skills. Okay, there are certain classes that have skills, and I tell you that at the beginning of class. Like what I said, pharmacology doesn't have in-campus skills, and math doesn't have in-campus skills. But once we get to week 4, week 5, week 6 of this sequence 1, you will have to do skills in the campus for inventory. Okay, because that you have to have hands-on. You're going to be pulling drugs, filling prescriptions. Okay, so you have didactic, which is your online, going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which you've done, and then your skills. And then after that, okay, there are classes that I'm going to have to put an incomplete on your classes if they're tied to labs. And then Ms. J will do labs with you, and then Ms. J will say, James is cleared for PHA 108. He's done all 20 hours or all 30 hours. And I can change and request for your change of grade from an incomplete to a number in a letter grade. Get it?
Yeah.
And then you do your other skills. You can do some skills simultaneously because they overlap, okay? And then you can do your other skills. And then once you're done, I email Career Services, Miss Laura, and tell her James is ready to go out on externship. And she's going to start finding you externship site where you need to go to. And then after you finish your 240 hours or 180 right now, I'd say 180 to 240, okay? Then you're going to have to do your exit interview, and you're going to be deemed a graduate even if you don't walk yet, okay? So those are your requirements to be in the program, but also do not neglect your immunization requirements, okay? You should have started your Hep B because that takes about 6 months if you're going to partition that, okay? You should have started your Hep B from career prep time, okay? Another thing, background check. You said you've done your background check. There will be another background check prior you go out on externship, so prepare for that. It's about $50. I'd like you to submit, usually it's within a month, I ask the students to prepare a $50 money order. That is your license application, okay?
Oh, okay.
I'm going to send you a copy of your license application as a tech in training, okay?